How's it going, everybody? Thank you very much. I always appreciate you. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to my fourth classic horror movie review of October 2024. This is my review of the 1953 horror classic House of Wax. This movie was directed by Andre DeToth, who directed movies like Day of the Outlaw, Play Dirty starring Michael Caine, The Indian Fighter starring Kirk Douglas. Like the previous film that I just talked about on this channel, Friday the 13th Part 3, this also came out in 3D only. Friday the 13th 3 was part of that resurgence of 1980s 3D films like Jaws 3D, Amityville 3D, while House of Wax was part of that original wave of 1950s 3D films like Hondo and Creature of the Black Lagoon and Dial M for Murder. This movie stars Vincent Price, Phyllis, Kirk, Carolyn Jones. You have a very young Charles Bronson in there, Frank Lovejoy. I did see the remake of this in the theater when it came out back in 2005, and it's a pretty decent little slasher movie. But as far as remakes go, it's a very loose remake of this 1953 version. And a lot of people that have seen the 2005 film aren't even aware of the 1950s House of Wax. That one isn't even the original. The original came out in 1933 and it was called Mystery of the Wax Museum. It's a black and white film. And eventually I'll get to that one, but I saw this one first, and I'm more excited about this one because this one's my favorite, and so I got to get into this one here because Vincent Price is one of my favorite actors of the 1950s and 60s. Vincent Price was a great actor. I really enjoy his work in movies like The Pit and the Pendulum, House on Haunted Hill, The Mosque of the Red Death. He could be a very good leading man, or he could be a very good supporting character actor, like in The Ten Commandments. He was also very good at playing so many evil, devious characters, which is why if you saw him in a movie like House of Wax, like this one, or if you saw him like in 1958's The Fly, where he plays a good guy in that, even when he's playing a good guy, you feel like there's something a little bit sinister that lurks underneath the surface when he's playing a role. And he was also very good at comedy, like in the 1966 Batman TV show, where he played the role of Egghead, the villain. At the very beginning of the film, we see it's the early 1900s, and we meet Professor Gerard, Vincent Price's character, for the first time while he's alone at first at his art studio gallery, but then he's paid a little visit by his associate and business partner, Matthew Burke, played by actor Roy Roberts, who is not very happy with business and would like his partner to have some kind of a house of horrors or something a bit on the spooky side because more and more people are flocking to see all that morbid type stuff for fun. And Gerard is all about the purity of his historical figures. He feels that the historical figures are enough in and of themselves. Gerard tells his disgruntled partner Burke that a Mr. Wallace, an art critic, is interested in possibly buying Burke out. He's on his way to come there now to look at the exhibit, and if he likes what he sees, then he'll have a new financial backer. And so Burke decides he's gonna sit in the back or stand in the back and kind of watch and see how the meeting goes. The meeting goes well enough between Mr. Wallace and Gerard, but he doesn't give him a definitive answer. He just tells Gerard, I gotta go away on a business trip for 3 months and I'll think it over. So, when I get back, we'll talk some more. And Gerard is cool with that, and the guy leaves. He says goodbye, but Burke comes downstairs after he leaves, and he's not too happy with what he just heard. So he decides for the insurance, he's just gonna set this place on fire. Gerard tries to stop Burke as best he can, and he tries to put out the fires in desperation, but ultimately he's unsuccessful and ends up being surrounded by the fire and just left for dead there. And then we have a scene change. We see it's 3 months later, and then we meet our main female protagonist, our leading lady for the first time, played by Phyllis Kirk in the role of Sue. Sue's friend and roommate Kathy is getting ready to go out for the night. Kathy is the blonde, more fun and like outspoken one, and so Sue is like the soft-spoken brunette and the more proper lady of the period. And so she's helping her to squeeze into her corset, and you can tell by their interaction and their dialogue that they're very close friends that care about each other. And so she says goodbye to her friend, she leaves, and then time passes, it's late at night. Sue comes into her friend's bedroom to check on her to see if she got back okay from going out, and she's laying there in the bed, but she finds her friend dead. At first, Sue seems to be in shock at the sight of her dead friend laying there in the bed, but pretty soon that shock turns to terror when she notices a man standing there in the room with her. We catch up with Vincent Price's character, Gerard, who is alive. He didn't die in the fire, it turns out, and he's in a wheelchair now, and his hands are all burned up, and so I guess he's still creating wax full size, like life size historical figures, but because his hands are all messed up, he can't do the physical work himself, so he needs the assistance of a helper. The man helping Gerard to make his wax creations is his new assistant, Igor, played by a very young and very buff Charles Bronson. Because 3 months have gone by, Mr. Wallace, who met with Gerard at the beginning of the film, is now back from his trip, and so he meets up with Gerard at his new location, sees the work that he's been doing, and he's interested in being his financial backer because he likes what he sees, and so they do decide to partner up, and before you know it, it's the grand opening of the brand new Museum of Wax. Our main lady, leading character Sue, shows up and sees something very, very interesting when she looks at Joan of Arc, because Joan of Arc has an uncanny resemblance to her dead friend. Sue is very quick to point out how identical this life-size historical wax sculpture looks like her deceased friend Kathy, who was murdered just 3 months prior at the hands of the mysterious disfigured man in black. And Gerard rolls up to her and kind of explains that he saw her picture in the paper and he just wanted to use her face because he thought it would be perfect for his Joan of Arc. Sue is no dummy though. She knows something is wrong. She can feel it in her gut. She knows her friend's face very well, and so when she looks at the Joan of Arc sculpture, she can see all kinds of details that would be very hard or almost impossible for somebody to see and get from a picture in a paper. Watching the film, you might notice a slight change in character with Gerard compared to Gerard at the beginning of the film, because the beginning of the movie, Gerard has that scene with Burke where Burke is trying to pressure him into having some kind of a morbid showcase for his displays of wax, like a house of horrors, because more and more people are flocking to go see spooky stuff. And so, at that point in the film, at the beginning, he's very much against that kind of thing because Gerard is all about the purity of his historical figures and all that. But when you get to the later part of the film where Gerard is back in business, you can see that now he does have a house of horrors with his wax sculptures. So I guess he decided to come around on the idea, and not only did he come around, but he also has a little display of someone that looks an awful lot like his old partner Matthew Burke. Then it doesn't take Gerard very long to realize that Sue has an uncanny resemblance to his old wax sculpture of the Marie Antoinette that he had in his old display before it got burned up. And so when he's talking to Sue at one point, he tells her, "You know what? You would make a great Marie Antoinette." Sue is definitely not wrong about her assumptions and suspicions, but she ultimately does find out by the third act, and it's a great surprise. Even if you can sense it coming, it's still a lot of fun when the big reveal comes. And this is a real great horror film. Even though it's an old film, just the premise alone makes it creepy enough, and it's executed beautifully to the point where it still holds up very well. 1953's House of Wax is a very fun time. It's very creepy, very unsettling. This is my copy of House of Wax on DVD. And yeah, as you can see here in the cover there, you have Marie Antoinette in the background and Vincent Price here. And, that look on his face looks like, something's going on there. Yeah, 1953's House of Wax, a must-see horror classic for classic horror movie fans. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. I always appreciate it. If you're into movies, if you're into classics, if you're new to the channel, hit the bell, become a subscriber. I am a horror movie fan, and so I'm going to be talking horror movies all month long in the month of October because this is my favorite time of the year, the month of Halloween. So yeah, it's going to continue on all the way to the 31st, and so expect more of these classic horror movie reviews. Please don't forget to comment, share, like, always helps out. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for all your support and your views. I very much appreciate it. Everybody take care of each other. Peace out. Till next time, be safe, and God bless.